You know it's a good weekend when you're walking into Monday and John Cena has his 17th World Heavyweight Championship belt around his waist, over his shoulder, holding it high in the sky. Pretty good weekend full of sports. The University of Indianapolis, no different. My name, Caden Colford, joined by Jake Helton and Freddy Hawthorne here on Last Call. We want to go to Freddy first. We're talking about spring ball action, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this for you is essentially the finale for the football team. Spring camp, have pads on, you're going head-to-head, and it's best on best. Tell me about your experience this weekend, Freddy.
Well, first of all, I just want to say, spring ball, especially to the players, is more like a glorified practice, you know. We're just trying to go out there, give the fans what they want to see, not run too many things, but just kind of run the basics, you know, just have fun with everyone in. I mean, it's just a great time for the coaches to evaluate us at the end, you know, kind of see what we have going into that fall season, week 0 against Marion or, you know, whoever we face going on to the end of that season. So, yeah.
And for you, as a wide receiver on this team, how did they go for it? Do you feel like you had a pretty solid performance? Do you feel like the team performed pretty solid?
I think we performed solid. I think, you know, as far as scoring-wise, we had a kind of rough time going there, and then, you know, we tried to get a little trick play in there, you know, that didn't work.
It didn't.
But, you know, I think it was pretty fun. I think that was the main goal for everyone. Most likely is just to have fun. So yeah.
And you got interviewed during that game, and something that you mentioned, something that a lot of people don't think about. This is a huge time for recruiting.
Yes.
And you think about all the people that we brought in. There were 30 different recruits on the sideline at this game. One from one of the schools near where I live. But you talked in that interview about how important this is. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
I mean, well, we have 50 guys coming in next year, you know, in the class of, I think that would be the class of 29, I believe, or something like that.
Sounds about right.
So, you know, it just goes to show we're building something special here at UINDY. We're trying to build a national championship caliber program here. You know, we're trying to get past that hump, just going to the first round and losing. So we're doing everything it takes to bring in the guys necessary. And as you know, you should see in the next few years that we're a way better football team.
All right, thank you for that, Freddie. We'll move to softball and baseball now. Softball was on a 5-game winning streak until splitting the series with Truman State on Saturday. For them, that loss against Truman, not exactly ideal considering you're out of the Midwest regional rankings right now. You're still trying to get a better seed in the GLVC championship. Jake, where do you feel this team sits right now in regards to where they want to be?
Batting-wise, this team hitting phenomenally. We saw a couple of home runs over the weekend. I actually got the chance to get out to the ballpark finally and watch the softball team. Still, the same team, still fun as ever to watch. I mean, an electric play style. I think the one place that you do kind of worry about is those double headers. You see them more often than not, they're losing that second game. And when we look back to the issues with what happened in the World Series last year, the Greyhounds struggled in that second game. If I remember correctly, Kinsey ended up throwing 200 pitches in one day of softball, and that's never really going to get you the result that you want. But we've seen a lot of pitchers in and out this weekend. I think we're seeing some improvements. Like you said, you have that 5-game win streak. There was a bigger one earlier in the season. You do have a little bit of work to do, so to speak. You're going to have to win that GLVC tournament. The way it sits right now, Greyhound's not in the regional ranking. They're not ranked in the coaches poll either, so it's going to come down to, can they win the GLVC tournament? That's a tough task. It's a very talented GLVC this year.
Well, with that as well, you do play Lewis, who is very well regarded not only in the conference, but in the region and nationally as well. So this is a chance you go on the road to Romeoville. If you could win 2 in a doubleheader, that looks really good heading to the conference tournament. But as you say, definitely need a deep run there as you sit 6th in the conference as it sits right now. Moving to baseball, for them on the season, just about a week left going into their final road stand. 21-18 on the season, and you are in that bottom half of the Midwest regional rankings as of the latest poll to come out. But you do lose a few against Drury after taking the first game of that series, or well, you win the last instead, and you lose the first 3. Not exactly an amazing outlook for them either.
Yeah, and that's a rough one because if you look at the rankings the way it was as of April 16th, the Greyhounds, they were in that 9 spot, Drury in that 10 spot. So this was a big 4-game stretch for Drury as they jumped quite a few games ahead of the Greyhounds with that one. It is unfortunate, but with you looking at the schedule, you do have Lewis, another solid team in there, as well as William Jewell, so some opportunities. But the Greyhounds, they're pretty much going to have to win out at this point.
Well, GLVC championship time right around the corner. Guys will be in Marion, Illinois, whereas the softball team will be in East Peoria, Illinois, to get things going for them. That's UINDY Sports, and always remember, John Cena with number 17 is walking around as well. We'll come back, and we'll talk some NBA action on Last Call.
Good morning, Greyhounds.
Your weekly dose of Greyhound entertainment.
I think if you watch our team, they have fun. You know, they have fun playing.
There's so much that you can do to get the most out of your experience.
Our alumni care deeply about the success of this university.
Come here. Watch Good Morning Greyhounds every Saturday at 9 a.m. Catch us on UINDY TV's YouTube channel and Xfinity channel 1096.
If you look behind us, you're going to see what the playoff format looks like for the NBA right now. And I got to say, it was a nice first couple days of playoff action. A lot of fun basketball to watch, a lot of spectacular performances, and some not so spectacular at all. So we might as well just start with that one right there. We'll go to Bucks versus Pacers, and personally, I'm catching a lot of flack for this game because I have been a spoken supporter of Kyle Kuzma. But in this game, the Pacers run not only Kyle Kuzma, but Giannis and the entire Bucks organization off the floor, winning a huge game in this one, 117-98. And I feel like dominant is the best word to use in this first game of the series.
Yeah, I mean, very fitting for the IndyCar theme here in Indianapolis. I mean, they absolutely ran him out of the gym, 17-5 in transition in the first half. And then you look to the total game. Pacers had 26 points in transition. That is exactly where you want to be. You saw Pascal Siakam getting out, getting a couple wide open threes. Andrew Nembhard absolutely bullied Brook Lopez. A nice bucket there. Siakam, I was very impressed with his game because he scored at all three levels, and he really didn't allow Giannis to affect his game offensively or defensively. I will say, obviously, Giannis, he had his 30 points. That's going to happen. You got to let him score his 30. But what the Pacers did and what I like is you let him shoot 20, 30 shots. He's taking away from the outside shooters, and that was why the Bucks went on that end-of-game stretch where they did win so many, because Giannis was trusting his teammates. He was passing the ball out, wide-open threes. A.J. Green is a phenomenal shooter. If you can get him the ball in a wide-open kick-out, he's going to hit it more often than not. But the stat that really made the difference in this one for me, the Bucks were 1 of 13 in contested shots. Wow. The Pacers, 8 of 12. So the Pacers not only were hitting the tough shots, but were making them even tougher on the Bucks.
Sometimes tough shots are just falling. Freddie, what do you feel was the difference maker in this game, and what spoke out to you in a nearly 20-point win for the Pacers?
So, I mean, like we talked about in the last episode, we all kind of agreed that Giannis is going to do what he does. He's going to have 36 points, probably a double-double. But what we didn't expect from Giannis is the 5 turnovers. I think he turned the ball over entirely way too much for a number one option. And I also think that when you look at Tyrese Halliburton, he did go 0 for 7 in this game, but those 12 assists did come a long way in the Pacers win. Like I've always been the guy that says when Tyrese Halliburton passes the ball, this is still a great team. He can go out there and have 10 points, but if he goes out there and facilitates, gets everyone else involved, this is still a good Pacers team. And then when you talk about Damian Lillard, his absence out there, I mean, a 19-point loss, Damian Lillard's averaging 25 points per game, so you got to be excited when he comes back.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm going to bring it right back to you. Do you think Dame changes the series, Freddie?
I do think Damian Lillard changes the series. I mean, 19-point loss, Damian Lillard, you're missing 25 points from him. They kind of got chippy at the end of that game there, so I'm kind of excited to see what Damian Lillard does do when he returns, but you gotta think probably game 2 at the latest game 3 for his return.
What does Dame change for the Bucks, and how do the Bucks find their way back down 0-1?
Considering that they struggle on the defensive end of things, I don't know that him coming back is going to help on that asset of it, but you do bring back a lot more points, and Kyle Kuzma's not going to have 0 points next game. That's not something the Pacers are going to be able to rely on, so that's kind of an outlier for me. Obviously, you're a big Kyle Kuzma guy. You watch a lot of film on him, and he is good. He is talented. He's going to score the ball. But is he going to be the difference maker in this series? Not for me. It's going to be Dame. Dame's coming back in game 2 more than likely the way that it sits right now, at least a lot of the reports that I'm reading. It's a big difference. But you want to talk about the biggest difference? How about the home court advantage for the Pacers? One of the best atmospheres, if you would have looked around the bowl, around the rim, all yellow, straight yellow. Every time they hit a shot, the arena erupted. But I think that's the big difference for me. Dame's not going to be the end-all, be-all. He's not going to bring them back. They're not going to win by 20 next time. I think the Pacers are still winning in 6, and with this home crowd advantage, it makes me even more confident they might be able to win it in 5. Everyone knows the Hoosiers travel pretty well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a good attendance on the road.
You know, there was one guy for me that really stuck out for the Pacers, and I feel like if he can play this way every game, Pacers win in 4 or 5 and really give any team in the East problems. That's Miles Turner. And I feel like coming from me specifically, I've been really tough on what he provides on a game-in, game-out basis. But he went in, and we all seen the clip of him just ripping the ball from Giannis on the drive. When he stepped up at the biggest game that we've seen this season, Miles Turner, he went 4 for 6 from deep. He had 4 blocks, only 5 rebounds, but he did everything that you could ask for a defensive 3-and-D big. And I was really admiring the performance I saw from him, and I feel like if that persists, the Pacers can really be scary.
And another thing is Giannis can't play hero ball. When Giannis is trying to do everything, this team is not the same team. When he's facilitating, he only had 1 assist. And usually, at least looking at the trends towards the end of the season, he was close to a triple-double almost every single game. So when I look at that, I look at Giannis needs to pass the ball a little bit more. A.J. Green shot the ball phenomenally on the catch and shoot if you can get the ball to him when he's open in the corner. But that's a big issue because of the Pacers' their closeouts. Closeouts are just great right now for the Pacers. They've been playing a top 10 defense for the past month or so as it sits right now. And like you said, Miles Turner, him in the pick and pop, he absolutely dominated Brook Lopez. 19 points to Brook Lopez's 9. Yeah. I was very impressed with Miles Turner. But if Giannis does not trust his team, this Bucks team is not going to go anywhere.
Freddie, is it all on Giannis at this point?
I don't think it's all on Giannis. When you look at their shooting, I mean, we're talking about one of the best three-point shooting teams in the NBA. 9 for 37 last night. We got to shoot better as a team. That's 24%. So when you look at those aspects, Giannis does have to play a little bit better. We got to stop turning that ball over, but they also have to shoot better as a team, I believe.
Awesome. Thank you, Freddie. With that, we're going to move down on the slate. And how about Russell Westbrook coming up big in that win against the Clippers? Huge one at that. But we're going to take a look at the Timberwolves right now. How about Ant-Man walking out and absolutely destroying the Lakers? It was insane because Luka had over 30 points. He was a leading scorer in all the playoffs thus far, and it was almost like it was nothing. Why is that?
I'll tell you this, and the only reason I know this is because one of the assistant coaches made a point at the end of the first quarter. The difference in the first quarter was the second chance points. The Lakers had a couple kick-out threes off of second chance opportunities. They also had a couple putbacks. Luka had 16 in that first half. He's obviously going to get his 30. That's going to happen. But as soon as the T-Wolves went to a small ball lineup, they put Dante DiVincenzo in as well as Naz Reid. He had 23 points, 6 threes off the bench. A very productive night for him. But as soon as they went to that small ball lineup, they absolutely torched the Lakers. And I don't think they stood a chance in the second half. Anthony Edwards finally started hitting some shots. The 3-ball was going down for the T-Wolves. This team looked almost unbeatable. I do think that the Lakers were a little underprepared. That's one thing that I will say. Coming into that first quarter, you might have thought, oh, this is the Lakers team we've been waiting to see, but you got to be able to put it together for a full game, and that is not what they did, and the T-Wolves made them pay for it. And that's how you get embarrassed on your home court, game 1 of a series.
Well, it starts to ask the question, is Father Time starting to have an effect on LeBron James right here behind us? Well, LeBron, 19, 5, 4, 3 blocks, 2 steals. I don't know if you can call that a bad game. Freddie, what's your take?
Well, when you look at LeBron James, he's 40 years old. So when you talk about Father Time, I would say it is approaching, but I don't think that's the reason he had a bad game. I think that he had 4 turnovers last night or 2 nights ago, and he also went 1 for 5 from 3. If 2 of those go down, he has a 25-point game. I don't think we're having the same conversation. So I just think this all relies around them just hitting shots. I also think Anthony Edwards' presence alone that night was just the difference maker. I think when he went down with that calf injury, I think the Lakers were kind of starting to come back to life a little bit. I think they were starting to come back in that game. Anthony Edwards comes back in, starts facilitating, starts hitting shots. The game's over.
Jake?
Well, another thing that I think a lot of people aren't talking about is how Julius Randle was kind of giving LeBron some buckets.
A little bit.
With his back to the basket, he was giving him some buckets. I'm not going to lie. LeBron did not score in the first quarter. I believe they said it during the broadcast that was the first time in his career he did not score in the first quarter of an NBA playoff game. So that's kind of a good stat for the T-Wolves, I guess. But that's a trend we're starting to see a little bit more, him scoring second half dominant. But 11-2 in the first quarter in transition points for the Lakers. And then the T-Wolves will go on to win that battle by the end of the game. So that's something that I like to see right there. Battling back, the T-Wolves, they were down by, 10 at one point in the first quarter. It was right around there, 8 and 9 points. I love that second half performance from Anthony Edwards, not allowing the missed shots to affect him. And he really is the heart and soul of this team. I see why people want him to be the face of the league because he is just such a fun player to watch.
Well,
game, and that just goes to show about how him moving the ball really did change that game.
Yeah, and it's the whole team, right? Jaden McDaniels had 25. Julius Randle was in double figures. Anthony Edwards is obviously going to get his, but Naz Reid has 23. This is a team that can legitimately go from 1 to about 9 with guys that can really put the ball in the basket. I mean, you have Rudy Gobert as a defensive anchor as well. This is a roster that is incredibly built and tailored to play with each other as well. Because I don't see Naz Reid taking shots away from anybody. And at the same time, I don't see Anthony Edwards taking shots away from Julius Randle. And somehow Jaden McDaniels sneaks in 25. I don't know how that happens. And you win by such a large margin other than the fact of the chemistry on this team being some of the best that we're seeing in the league right now.
I mean, a very dangerous number 6 seed in the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, they're going up against the Lakers right now, and they're playing basketball. I'd love to see what they're going to do later on in this series. But if the Timberwolves are still around after this first round, a lot of teams need to be worried.
And a lot of people are going to see that Rudy Gobert stat line. He only had 2 points, 6 rebounds, and an assist. They're going to wonder, how are they winning games when Rudy Gobert's not playing good? Rudy Gobert's probably not going to score more than 10 points this entire series. He's probably not going to play more than 25 minutes for this entire series. The way it matches up, LeBron James is the tallest player on the Lakers at 6'9". Rudy Gobert is 7'1". You got to play small ball against the Lakers, especially when you have Luka, you have LeBron. They're trying to get out in transition. You just can't compete with that when you have your big guys in. You got to be able to run. And Jaden McDaniel, I mean, wow. His defense.
He played great. 9 rebounds, too.
Phenomenal game out of him. If he can do that every single game, like Freddie said, this is a dangerous 6 seed.
Well, he went 11 for 13, but as we look at the Thunder behind us, I don't think they missed a shot at all. I don't know if the Thunder missed a shot the entire game. I look up, and the score is 46-96, and I'm thinking, what happened? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. These 3 guys behind us, Jalen Williams, Shea, Chet, all of them playing very, very good games. And Freddie, I'll look at you and I'll ask, is this a guaranteed sweep for the Thunder?
This is a guaranteed sweep. I mean, defensive masterclass. We're talking about a 50-point blowout here. I mean, I don't think it gets any worse than that. And then you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, only 15 points in that 50-point blowout. He also went 1 for 7 from 3. You're not going to see him going 1 for 7 every single night. So, yes, the Memphis Grizzlies are in trouble, ladies and gentlemen.
And I saw on Instagram kind of the perfect way to describe this game. It was like when you're playing against your little sibling and you're not trying for the first half. Because you look at that first quarter, it was kind of back and forth. Yeah. I think the Grizzlies led for pretty much the entire first quarter. And then the last 2 minutes of the first quarter, it grows to an 8-point lead. Then you're 5 minutes into the second quarter, it's a 20-point lead. Then it's a 30, 40. Before you know it, they're up by 50 points. And this game is all but over in the third quarter.
And looking at things from Memphis's standpoint, Ja, 6 for 17. Not amazing, not great. Desmond Bane only went 3 for 12. I think that's really a testament to how great this Oklahoma City team is, not just offensively, but defensively as well. Freddie, is there any chance that Ja can bring this team back?
I mean, when you look at that game, him and Marvin Bagley are the only 2 players to reach double digits in points. I don't know if Ja can do anything to help this team other than just playing his own game. But when you look at the other 4 players on the court, the Oklahoma City Thunder have that beat by a long shot. I don't think there's anything Memphis can do to stop this Thunder team. I think this is a 4-game series.
I'm trying to do some quick mental math here. I think the starting 5 for the Thunder outscored the entire Grizzlies team. If not, it's very close.
Well, just about. And that one not as amazing as a game, but we're seeing that as a common theme through the first round. couple blowouts here and there. But this one we're about to talk about, between the Nuggets and the Clippers, anything but an overtime thriller. It looked super fun to be out there. And, the Joker's going to do his thing. Kawhi, James Harden, they're going to do their thing. But how about the unlikely hero and Russell Westbrook hitting a three to put them up, and eventually we go into overtime here in regulation. But there it is. Mm-hmm. Russell Westbrook making it 98-96. And then you go into overtime, and I saw so much saying you can live and die by this guy, and especially when you're playing a team like the Clippers. Very underrated talent, but the Nuggets there as well.
And right there, you saw one of the 20 turnovers. Yes, 20. That is the craziest stat I've ever heard in my entire life. An NBA team having 20 turnovers in one game, that's something you hardly ever hear of. And the fact that the Clippers kept it that close gives me some hope that they're going to make this a competitive series.
Freddie, this is a series that we're seeing stars against stars. What do you think is the difference maker between these two teams?
I think the difference maker here is James Harden. He kind of turned back the clock a little bit in that one. 32 and 11, that's a double-double. He kind of looked like that 50-point James Harden we used to see back in the day. But also Kawhi Leonard. He had 22 points, but I feel like those 7 turnovers really hurt the Clippers. I think if he takes care of the ball more, this is a totally different series. I think the Clippers actually have this one in the bag, if I'm being honest, if they keep playing ball. Russell Westbrook played good, but I don't really have much faith in Russell Westbrook. I think I really want to point to that fourth quarter when he tried to shoot the game winner. That whole just segment that he did right there just kind of told me everything I needed to know. So I do have the Clippers in this one.
The Clippers in the series?
Yes.
Jake?
I was kind of leaning that way, but the more that I watch it, I do think that the Nuggets are the slightly better team. And I think in a 7-game series, it might go to 7. This would be the only game in the first round that I think would go to Game 7, but I would have to stay with the Nuggets.
Well, so much going on with their roster, and that series will be very interesting to watch play out. But we'll move now to Boston, who we all said was going to have their way through the East, go on a rampage, and we've seen that through one game, right? They played against the Magic, or otherwise known as Paolo Banchero, and that was pretty much the game, right? Paolo goes out. He has a very solid 30-plus point performance, a double-double for him, but it wasn't enough. Will it ever be enough, I'll ask you guys, to knock off Boston?
I don't think it will ever be enough. When you look at how Boston played, Jason Tatum, 1 for 8 from 3, 17 points. These guys didn't have the best game outside of Derek White. Derek White had a 30-point game, but when you look at Boston stars, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, even Kristaps Porzingis, none of these guys played extremely well, and Paolo Banchero did, and he still can get the job done. This is probably another 4-game series here in Boston.
There's a couple of stats that you need to know about this series. The Celtics, 13 steals in that game. They had 26 points in transition compared to the Magic's 8. They also had 24 points off of those 13 steals, as well as a couple other turnovers. They are turning the Magic over at a very high rate, and it's going to be hard to beat the best team, in my opinion, in the East when you're turning the ball over.
For the Magic, it's a defensively focused team, and that's awesome against 95% of teams in the regular season. That's great. Every coach loves to see a team that's great on defense. But at the end of the day, when you have one guy that can really go get you a bucket, it's not going to do it. It's not going to cut it, especially against a team like Boston, when you never know who is going to play good. Derek White dropping 30-plus points in a playoff game is insane. How do you coach against that? It's impossible.
You can't.
That's impossible.
You know who else dropped 30? Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Number 30, 31 points, 25 from Jimmy Butler. Everything you needed to see out of them to take down the number 2 seed. I thought this was probably the worst offensive performance I've seen from the Houston Rockets all season. And then you back that up by a pretty solid performance by your 2 best players on the Warriors. Got to play a little bit better defense, or better offense, if you're the Rockets. That's kind of the adjustment that I'm saying. Sengun, he's got to get more points up on the board. He's going to have 30 points. They're going to have to find a way to lock down Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. Got to keep them under 30. That's how you win. You keep Steph Curry under 30 points, you have about a 50-50 chance of beating the Warriors.
You know, for Jimmy Butler, I feel like he just opens up the floor so much for Steph Curry in the way that he draws so much attention that Steph Curry is now allowed to play one-on-one basketball again, which he just wasn't able to do for a long time. And when Steph Curry is playing one-on-one, we know that there's nobody that can guard him.
We also see him running around the screens. That was something about 2 years in a row now. We have not seen him being as active away from the ball because he's had to take on some more responsibility handling the ball. Pods, he's great handling the ball, but Jimmy Butler just adds a whole nother element to this team facilitation-wise. They're playing their best basketball right now, and I have a very good feeling that they take down the Rockets in this series. They're just not playing good.
Yeah, I think defensively, this was the game to watch. I think this was a very good defensive game for both teams. I mean, even Golden State had 11 turnovers. Then you look at Houston, who had 15. Jalen Green, his first playoff game, he didn't play really well, only had 7 points. Got to think that's probably just the jitters of him being in that atmosphere. But when you look at that entire team and how young they are, is that going to be the case for all of them? Are they going to have those jitters because they haven't been in this position before? You look at Golden State. This is a four-ring team in the last decade. They've been here multiple times, which is why I kind of give the edge to Golden State, like Jake as well.
Thank you, Freddie. Warriors ahead 1-0 in the series, and that'll bring us to the Primetime Pick Em, the last set of picks that we're going to have until our finale next week, where we crown a winner here on Last Call. So Pistons versus Knicks at the Garden. I'm definitely taking the Knicks in this game. I love their offense, love the way they're working, and they showed out their first game.
Yeah, I mean, the Pistons put on a pretty solid performance. I think we all kind of assessed it as that, but that 21-0 run, that's all you need if you're the Knicks, and I think that they put together a similar performance. I got the Knicks as well.
Second game, we're looking at the Clippers versus the Nuggets again. Jake, what are you thinking?
I was really wanting to take the Clippers on this one after watching that first game, but kind of to what I was saying earlier, I think the Nuggets, they've got this one in the bag. I don't think it's obviously going to be a 4-0 series, but I do think Game 2 at home, give me the Nuggets.
All right. Third game on the slates. Well, I'm probably going with the Nuggets too as well. Nuggets where I'm thinking. Third game, we'll go to Pacers now. They're at home again versus the Bucks. And in this series, I think they have the number. I think they're matching up too well against Milwaukee, and I don't think Giannis, Darvin Ham, or anybody can pull the Bucks out of it.
Yeah, I'm going Pacers as well, and I can see the wheels turning over there. You've got some changes that you're planning on making, I assume. But I'm going to stick with the Pacers. I think that they've, like you said, got an easier matchup in this one. In the coaching, Rick Carlisle, I think he's been doing a solid job with the Pacers.
I do too. I think he's really worked this roster very, very well, and they're playing their best basketball at the best time. Final game, could make it or break it. We're looking at the Timberwolves and the Lakers. Jake?
Well, I know that I have the first pick, and as of 9 o'clock this morning, I picked the Lakers. However, I will give you the opportunity. You can either switch or I can switch.
I don't need to because I'm actually with the Timberwolves.
I was not expecting that. I apologize.
Well, whatever. On the road, they're going to crypto, and they're going to take it. Really? I like the Timberwolves in this series after the first game. I don't see how the Lakers can guard the Timberwolves, and that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I think you're forgetting about the argument of who's on that team. LeBron, playoff Bron. He's coming. You just got to wait for it. Sometimes he starts off a little slow as he works his way through the first round. He's just waiting. Then he gets to the second round. Well, they got to get to the second round first, so I don't think he can take the rest of this series off. But if they can shut down Anthony Edwards, which is a very tall task, and I don't really think they have anyone that matches up well against him defensively, so that's kind of another big issue. But if Bron can get his 30 points, if Luka can get his 30 points, and I think the big difference for me in this one was Austin Reeves. I just think they played such good defense on him. Mm-hmm. He was so discombobulated that it affected the entire offense.
And then it's 2-on-5. It's 2-on-5 from there. Austin Reeves can make or break a game. I just don't see it happening in this series.
We'll take a look at the records real quick because I think I still have a decent advantage.
I think you do too.
We'll see how last week went. Ooh, 2 games.
Tough one.
I believe we picked the same on 3 of them. So would you like to make a couple of changes? That way you do have an opportunity to at least tie things up.
Oh, man. I might have to go with the Pistons. I think the Pistons are the one that I'm going to go back and change because I'm not picking against the Nuggets and I'm not picking against the Pacers, and I think the Pistons have the ability to go win a game. That's what I'm thinking. That's the mindset. You don't win the pick 'em by going cookie cutter every week. You just don't, Jake.
Fair enough. Last call. Jake Helton, Caden Colford.